making lentil, pumpkin, ricotta and spinach lasagna. Starting with half a pumpkin. Got my oven preheated 180. I'm just using a spoon to take out the seeds. Big knife. Just take off that core. Cut those in half. On a roasting tray with some greaseproof paper. Olive oil. Take a brush and just cover all the surfaces. Salt. Pepper. In the oven, 180, about an hour. Next thing, you want to get the lentils on. I don't know how much I've got here, so 420 grams. Red lentils in a pot. Give them a good wash. You don't want to see that milky white. You cover them by about 200%. Alright, so cover them in water. High heat until they come to a boil with the lid on. Probably take about 15 minutes. And we'll come back later. But they've taken about 10 minutes, they've now come to the boil and I've turned it down to 5 and 6 being maximum on this electric stove. Alright, next we have 400 grams of baby spinach. And I'm just going to give that a wash in the kitchen. Right now I've just got a bunch of basil. Just chop the stems off that. Alright, basil picked. Alright, I've got my washed spinach here in this pot, or you can use a large mixing bowl. I've got my basil washed. And basically the heat from the lentils and the pumpkin are going to wilt that spinach down. Alright, so I've got my lentils. And our pumpkin. I'll just take a spoon and scoop the flesh out. Alright, and at this point we'll let this cool down now for about half an hour to an hour. And then we'll add our ricotta and Danish White cheese, which I'll show you when we do that. So next we're going to make our bechamel sauce, or our cheese sauce, which we'll be adding in between the layers and on top of the lasagna. And basically we want equal amounts of butter and flour. So here I've got 50 grams of butter. Pop that on high heat. And then we'll want around 50 grams of plain flour. I'll just grab a whisk. We're also going to need about 1 litre and a bit of milk. Traditionally hot milk, but I find if you use cold milk, you've got a lot less chance of getting lumps in your sauce. Alright, our butter's melted. In with our flour, and on a high heat we just want to cook out that flour a little. Very important that we cook out our our flour at this stage, otherwise we'll have a raw tasting flour in our sauce. Just keep it moving, otherwise it will burn quickly. I'm going to cook this out like 2 minutes total. I can see it's started to change colour slightly, and I'm just going to add a small amount of milk, cold, out of the fridge. Get that in. It started to thicken immediately, so as soon as it starts to thicken, get more milk in. And it'll start to thicken again once it heats up. So I'm going to get some Parmesan cheese. This is Grana Padano. There's only 2 types of Parmesan cheese, Grana Padano and Reggiano. So you only want to use those, one of those, Grana Padano or Reggiano. And I'll grate some Grana Padano. I'm also going to use a small amount of Tasty. We're going to put a bit more of this on top when we finish preparing it. But I'm also going to put a small amount of Tasty cheese. And I'm just going to get some white pepper. And some salt. We'll taste that later to make sure we're on point. Just going to get a touch more milk in there. And you can see we've used about 1.25 litres, or maybe slightly less. Remember, when we put this cheese in, it will thicken the sauce again. Okay, so this is just barely thickened. We'll get our cheese in there. Just turn that down to number 3 now. We'll just give that another taste for seasoning. Pinch of salt, tiniest bit. And this time I'll put some black pepper in there. Okay, and that's perfect. Fairly thick. You can draw a line through it. Right? Perfect. Okay, so we've got our pumpkin, lentil, spinach mix, our white sauce, and I've also got a Napoli sauce, which we'll make at another time. So I've got some Danish White feta. Just a very small piece, maybe 100 grams, 150. Small piece Danish White. I'm just going to crumble that slightly. I've just washed my hands off screen. And then I've got 1/3 of a wheel of ricotta cheese. And whenever I buy this, I always ask them if I can have the basket. And I'll just crumble that up. give it a little taste. So we can start putting it together. So on the bottom of our pan, we'll start off with some tomato sauce. And this is just to stop the pasta from drying out on the bottom of the tray. And we do want a good coating. Alright, so I've used just slightly over half of that 1.5 litres there, but we will put all of that in. Alright, and then I just break a corner off so it'll fit into the corner of my tray, and then I just put those extra bits into the corner. Alright, so one layer of pasta. You don't need to be too finicky about how even everything is. And then we'll do a layer of this mixture. Get that nice and even. And if you can see a bit of pasta, just cover him up. And I'm just going to put a bit of a drizzle of the white sauce onto that layer. Right. And then we'll do lasagna the opposite of how we did it the first time. So the first time I did it long ways to this side, and now I'm going to do it long ways to the opposite side. make sure we can't see any pasta. And again, we'll go with the opposite way we did before. And this will probably be our last layer of pumpkin now. Smooth that out. Small bit of cheese, sauce. Alright, now I'm just going to put the last bit of the tomato sauce over that top layer of pasta. Get everything nice and wet. Make sure there's enough moisture there to actually cook the pasta. And then all of the white sauce on top of that. And it's going to look very saucy, but don't you worry, after an hour in the oven, it'll be perfect. some grated tasty cheese. Just for quite a light coating. And a small amount of Grana Padano Parmesan. Okay, doesn't need a crazy amount of cheese on top. Right, I've got my oven preheated at 180. Bit of a cover in the oven. Minutes, rotate 20 minutes, take the cover off, and then about another 20 minutes, done. Alright, so we've been in the oven now. Put the cover off. About 20 minutes and we've browned the top of our lasagna. So we just give it a poke in anywhere that it's kind of rising up. And now we just want to let it sit for about an hour, really, at least. And then we can portion it up. All right. And our lasagna.